Brilliant
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
good.
sir.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first session of the QGIS Open Day for March. It's lovely to have everybody with us. I'd like to welcome our first panel of speakers. They are, of course, from the hashtag Break the Bias Map initiative. And these absolutely amazing ladies are going to take us through how diversity and representation are so important in GIS and how they are championing having women and different groups having good representation on these different open platforms. And we thought that since it was International Women's Day this month, that this was a really appropriate session to start the open day with. So welcome to everyone. If you have any questions for the ladies, this is an open session. So please, if you want to join the Jitsi room, there is a link to that on the Open Day wiki. If you'd like to just type in a question into the live chat, please feel free to do so. And we'll hop straight into the session. So first, I'd like to hand us over to Feye, and all these ladies will then introduce themselves, and we'll jump right in. Over to you, Feye.
Thank you, Amy, and hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for being with us today, and also thank you to Amy again and the QGIS community for inviting us to share about our initiative for International Women's Day and Women's Month on this very special day, the QGIS Open Day. And we all know that fighting for rightful freedom and equality is never easy. And in this session, we would like to present and open spaces for discussion about issues associated with diversity and mapping, to go through how to use GIS platforms to encourage equality and representation, and how we can hashtag break the bias map. And with me are two other Geo ladies from the Philippines, Arnalie and Honey. So before we start, let's do some quick introductions, and participants can also introduce themselves via chat, by the way. And we have a very first question. So, who are you? Where you come from, and what's your experience with QGIS? So let me start first. So my name again is Feye Andel, and I'm based in Quezon City in the Philippines, and I'll be your facilitator. So I'm a WebGIS data specialist for NOAA Center WebGIS component under the University of the Philippines Resilience Institute, and I'm also a data quality specialist for Where is My Transport. And I strongly advocate for open data and free and open source software for geospatial applications, or FOSS4G, like QGIS. And I've been doing volunteer mapping for OpenStreetMap Philippines since 2013, and I've been to different provinces across the country in the Philippines to train different stakeholders such as the academe, the local government offices, non-government organizations, and other stakeholders on how to use OpenStreetMap and other free and open source software like QGIS. And I've been using QGIS since 2013 as well, when my first supervisor in my first job introduced me to it, and we were part of the team who customized the InnoSafe plugin for QGIS so that it would be in a localized or in a Filipino context. So it's gonna be more useful for the stakeholders or for the users of InnoSafe. And now I'm passing it on to my friend and also my colleague, co-advocate, Arnalie Vicario, for her introduction. Arnalie?
Thank you, Faye, and welcome, and hello again, everyone. Welcome to QGIS Open Day today. I would also like to thank Amy and the rest of the organizing team for QGIS Open Day for having us here today. So my name is Arnalie, and I'm based in the Philippines, and I'm a mother and also working as an online community engagement lead for the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. I'm passionate about building inclusive spaces in the open mapping and OpenStreetMap community, and pretty much why I work and collaborate with communities like JU Ladies, local chapters and communities working group, JU Chicas, and all of that, because they care about this. We do not only care about the tool and the data, we care about the people, the map makers, and the communities being mapped. With my QGIS experience, it's actually the first GIS tool that I learned way back 2012 when a friend introduced it to me, and I explored it. I was self-taught, and I knew that time that I wanted to be a JS specialist. And I'm very grateful to this open source project because my college mates were all using ArcGIS while I was the only one trying to create maps via QGIS. And yes, I made it as a JS specialist for 7 years. And I think one thing that I'm proud of and happy to give back to the QGIS community is when I created a QGIS training module in 2018, of course, with the help of the already available training materials in QGIS website. And then, yeah, I used that to train regional IT officers in the Philippines for QGIS version 2.18. So, yeah, in 2020, I transitioned to community engagement, still in the mapping ecosystem. So, yeah, I'll pass it to my colleague, Hani.
So, hi everyone. I'm Honey, also from the Philippines. I'm a JS associate for the Open Mapping Hub Asia Pacific. I graduated from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, with a Bachelor of Science degree in Geodetic Engineering after a year of being involved in OSM mapping through my affiliation with UPRI Youth Mappers. Actually, Miss Feye is one of my mentors. I was able to join Hot Philippines and be involved with the Philaware project. So I also worked for the Manila Observatory before coming back to Hot in its Asia Pacific hub. So my passion involves utilizing geographic information systems or GIS and remote sensing RS methods and technologies to create geospatial products that will be beneficial to our communities, especially to the underrepresented and marginalized. So with that, I can say that I am an active user of QGIS or QGIS since my university years, and I was able to explore it more after joining HOT as an advocate of the open data and free and open source software movement. So my knowledge in QGIS is mostly fueled by free seminars and tutorials so that this awesome community has been generously providing. So I'm also a fan of the mappers and developers that continuously improve QGIS, building tools and plugins that make our mapping experience more fun and fruitful. So I wish that in the near future I can explore more on the programming side so that I may someday contribute to improve this powerful mapping tool or software that we have. So back to you, Miss Faye.
Thank you so much, Honey and Arnalie, for sharing some of your background and your experience in QGIS. I think we've had new participants here, so I'm just gonna say hi to Hannah, to Victoria, and Christine for joining us, and also, of course, Tim for joining us and being with us today. So now, let's move to our first speaker for today, who is, of course, Miss Arnalie Vicario, to give us a background on what is the Break the Bias Map campaign and why we should care about this campaign. So, Miss Arnalie, ready when you are.
Anyone? A side note: anyone who's in the room, please do ask questions. I'm sure the ladies won't mind if you just pipe up and ask your question when
Yeah.
you need to. So please feel free.
Yep. So, am I audible and my screen is showing
Yes,
okay?
you are clear.
Yes, thank you very much. So, hello again. I will be talking about JU Ladies PH activities such as the Break the Bias Map campaign, and how we promote women empowerment through mapping. So the presentation's title, Placing Women's Struggles at the Forefront Through Mapping, something I copied from my colleague from JU Ladies PH, Jen. I couldn't look for other better title because this title really stems from the frustration that women's spaces are hardly visible on the map. And how do we challenge this, and how do we break the bias map? So in JU Ladies, we've spearheaded different workshops and mapping activities to pinpoint what we need to look for in a map. And we've also partnered with different organizations who have similar interests. So a brief background. In 2014, the first JU Ladies Philippines meetup was held with Maning Sambale, one of our long and active OSM contributor in the Philippines. So he was getting tired of being in the company of his fellow male and man mappers in pretty much all of their mapping parties. So he asked the ladies in the room, how do we change the ratio? And JU Ladies was then coined, and we evolved to who we are today. Advocates of diversity, collaborative participation, and affirmative spaces for women and underrepresented communities in the local mapping scene, such as OpenStreetMap and local geospatial community. So also sharing my experience, I was introduced to open data and OpenStreetMap when I joined a project in 2016. My friend and longtime OSM contributor Feye invited me to an outdoor mapping party with OSM Philippines community members. So I remember we were the only two ladies participating there, and the other five were men. It was in actually in 2018 when I learned about the 2014 J Ladies Meetup, and I took inspiration from that event to co-organize Mapa Babae. So a bit of background why we call it Mapa Babae. Mapa Babae is actually a fusion of Mapa, which means map, and Babae, which means woman. So to be honest, this event helped me to reflect on what I have been mapping with OpenStreetMap or with the use of other GIS platforms. It has been an eye opener for me to see the map maker's bias, to see the difference, how different gender, culture, and experiences show the realities on the map. So I believe most of us are familiar here with the map maker's bias, because men and women can have dramatically different relationships to resources. Men don't exactly have as much exposure to your sources like health centers, obstetrician, and gynecologist clinics as much as women. And this is why we see that diversity and inclusion is so important. We want maps that capture reality on the ground with as much inclusive detail as possible. And this cannot happen if we only have men mappers, because the realities are different from us. So from 2018, we made it a habit to conduct these events to increase women's spaces on the map, and also to increase contribution of women on the map. So we provided trainings on basic mapping in OpenStreetMap, and also how to tag these features. Later, we will hear from Hani on how to map and tag women's spaces. Here's an example of what has been mapped through this event. So here is a child, a woman and children protection unit inside a public hospital. We also map breastfeeding stations. This is an initiative again by my JU latest colleague Jen. So breastfeeding moms take picture of breastfeeding stations, and they compile it in a Facebook group, in an album in a Facebook group. So Jen started this initiative around 2018 to show breastfeeding station on the map. And I'm very indebted and thankful for this, because in late 2019 I became a mother too. And it always puts a smile on my face, or puts a smile on every mother's face, when changing table is available for both female and male comfort rooms. Of course, I already mapped this in OpenStreetMap. And also, I make it a habit to map children's playgrounds. So moving forward, in 2019, we held a When Women Map workshop in a local conference called Pista ng Mapa, or in English, Festival of Maps, where we asked participants, who's mostly women, to map the facilities which are important to them. And these are the list of those facilities or features that they map. And the resulting maps are really incredible. One group mapped about a love story where they met, where they go to a date, where they broke up, and where they escape from their emotions. Another map places important to her as a mother, such as clinics, places with adequate parkings, and also a group of friends introduced us to must-see places or tourist places in their vicinity. Also in 2019, we held a free drone workshop for women in JU and related fields. This is because, according to the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, only 8% of licensed drone pilots are women. With this, women applicants are prioritized to generate interest from underrepresented sector in this field. Moving forward to 2022, there are 11% drone pilots in the Philippines who are women. In 2019, it was only 8%. It was a slow progress, but we still believe it's a progress. We held mapathons and informal meetups pre-pandemic, just so JU ladies like us can fellowship, can talk about their experiences. And this year, we aligned our campaign with the International Women's Day 2022 theme, Break the Bias. We can break the bias in different spaces, including the map on Women's Month and beyond. And just what we have been doing since 2014, 2018, we aim to engage women map makers to contribute and put more women's contributions as well as increase women's spaces in the map. We were also granted the OSM Booster Grant, thanks to OSM Philippines, Open Mapping Hub Asia Pacific, and Smart City. So we took inspiration from MapBex, an LGBTQIA plus mapping community in the Philippines, using their charity mapping initiative. So we partnered with the Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau, a feminist legal non-government organization that works to address prejudices suffered by Filipino women before the law and the legal system. So for every map feature in the Break the Bias Map campaign is a donation to the incredible work that WLB is doing. We ventured in this kind of charity mapping initiative so that mappers and contributors see the direct impact of their work. So yeah, we've been doing this since 2018. It's not as simple as having a woman or a mapper who is a woman draw a square, a line, or a point in the map. We consider providing them the means, the training on how to map, and the safe space for discussion with the community. And that safe space and inclusive space is the thing that I see is most important. Focusing on number of edits, focusing on number of buildings map, and edit shaming discourages us to contribute. So yeah, let's break the bias map by making ourselves visible on the map, make women realities, our realities represented on the map, and build safe and inclusive spaces to make that possible. Thank you for listening and having me today. You can check out the JU Ladies Philippines page in the following links. And yeah, looking forward to more conversations with you later. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Arnalie, for that very wonderful talk and inspiring as well. And I'd like to thank you very much for continuing to fight for the women's right, especially in the geospatial community. So thank you very much for all the efforts that you do for us. And now, let's move to our next speaker, who is me. And I'll be talking about youth mappers and our initiatives. So let me just share my screen. Right. Okay. So, oh, yes, go ahead, Amy.
Maybe a little bit outside, or maybe you'll address this later, but you
Mhm.
mentioned, Annalie, in your talk that a shelter of some description, a women's and children's shelter, and because Open Map is obviously so open, how can you make sure that safety is included? Because of course, having publicly available shelters, often women who are in a difficult situation, they would need somewhere that's a little bit more discreet. So how do we make the balance between, things being open and things being available, but while remaining safe?
Yeah, I'll answer that now. Actually, Amy, or yeah, to that who asked that question, we actually have an initiative, Mapa Babae 2, which aim to map violence against women shelters. And yeah, that is one of our learnings when we map that, because we map those shelters in the open. And then, of course, we were told, no, you don't have to map that. So we learned the hard way. And I think yeah, that my learning for that is it should always there should always be a consent, and the safety of the people who's being mapped should always be the primary reason. We all love open data, but yeah, it's still the safety of who you're mapping, what you are mapping, should be the primary reason. So yeah, we learned the hard way. And yeah, we're not making that mistake again. And also, I think I've seen MapBex, or the LGBTQIA community, mapping safe spaces in the Philippines. And I've heard Nico, or in a presentation, that even though it's just it's a bar for LGBTQI community, they have to ask the owner of the pub if it's okay to map them, because of course, we know we want to assure safety of these spaces first before mapping it. So yeah, I think that's the number one rule, or it's always consent, and making sure that the feature you're mapping is safe. Thank you
Awesome.
for that one.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Arnalie and Amy, for that wonderful question. And now, let's move again to the next presentation about youth mappers. So, let me just, yeah. Okay, so I haven't, I think, mentioned earlier, but I'm also one of the regional ambassadors for Youth Mappers, and I got involved in a network because of my volunteerism or volunteering for OpenStreetMap Philippines. And I'll just give a short introduction about Youth Mappers and our initiatives related to women. Okay, so Youth Mappers, if you have if you've not heard of it yet, it's an international consortium of university-level student organizations with local chapters in universities of various countries. So right now, we have 305 local chapters across the world who are trying to make a difference for mapping. And we believe that we don't just build maps, but we also build mappers. So because we believe that it's also better to invest in the capacity of our students and our volunteers in creating more maps for the communities that we serve. So, in Youth Mappers, local chapters have the freedom to choose what problems or real world problems they want to solve through open mapping. So this is just an example from Africa on the initiatives that they do for the community. So they responded for the COVID-19 pandemic through mapping the health facilities in their community. So that's just one of the many projects that local chapters do for their community. And as you can see here, these are the active projects of the Youth Mappers local chapters in the world. So specifically for the Philippines, we have a lot of projects ongoing because many organizations also tap the local chapters in the Philippines to help them map the areas and also to build the capacity of these communities. And I'll skip this one. In relation to women, we have an initiative called Everywhere She Maps. So we believe and we understand that um, everywhere she maps, she makes a difference. So this mapping and data collection efforts led by female emerging student leaders in the Youth Mappers Network, hold the potential to benefit millions around the world by making available critical mapping data relevant to half the world's population, or the largest and open digital map of the world, which is the OpenStreetMap. And everywhere she maps is an activity supported by the Gender Equity and Equality Action Fund, conducted by and for Youth Mappers, which is sponsored by the Geo Center of the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID. And we expand three core interlocked activities that are proving successful in the current Youth Mappers program. So these are mapping and geospatial data activities that invest in women and girl security, livelihoods, access, prosperity, and participation in innovation and economic capacity. And then we also have leadership program for women in technology, since right now it's actually also increasing. And there are also regional ambassadors who focus on building local capacity of the female mapping community. So it's both increasing the representation of women in the map data, and also increasing the representation of women in the leadership or in the community in general. And we work to empower students, host country governments, and our partners to achieve locally sustained results, helping countries mobilize private and public revenues, strengthening the local capacities, and accelerating enterprise-driven development through everywhere she maps. So, yeah, I think this would be the end of my presentation. So if you're interested to know more about the Youth Mappers network and our initiatives, you can also visit the Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages for Youth Mappers. Right. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so before we proceed to our next speaker, let's have the question from Tim. So hello, Tim, again. So here's the question. Would you like to share some suggestions on what we can do in the QGIS project to make the project more inclusive? That is an interesting one and also very difficult to answer right now. So, Arnalie or Honey or anyone in the audience, feel free to also provide your answer or your feedback based on the question. Arnalie, can you think of anything?
Maybe I can comment. So I know that QGIS is a software, so it's a tool, and it's more of like a developer. There's a lot of developer in there. So me myself, I'm not a coder, or I'm not a developer. So I think sometimes I'm not sure, because I haven't been really involved in the international community of QGIS as much as I have been involved to OpenStreetMap. But yeah, I think just making. I'm thinking of like the feedback tool for data users. Like how do we create like a feedback mechanism where, like, for example, a tool or a plugin has issues, and a user who's not a developer, who don't go to GitHub, doesn't know how to create an issue in GitHub. So I'm not sure if QGIS has already have that feedback. Since I started in the community management, I haven't really been using QGIS because of that. But yeah, I think those ones, and as I said earlier, just providing this space. I think you've already been doing an inclusive thing by providing this space for discussion and being open for this. So I think that would be my comment on that. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you so much. Hi.
I can just pipe in very quickly.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah. I'm also from the Philippines, but I'm based in DC. Well, I'm in the Philippines now, but that's another story. Tim and the QGIS community, I feel like, has been already working on making it more inclusive, because my experience is more of every time we have open days, there would be someone who would send me a message and say, Hannah, we need a female voice, or we need, diversity, and we just need a different perspective on this. Would you be able to hop on? And I think like reaching out is the first step, and that's been amazing. And that shouldn't end with me. But of course, like I think I'm just more involved because like I insert myself in conversations, so like people can reach out to me quite quickly. But like having this lovely ladies from the Philippines like talk about their experiences is one way. So I think like giving spaces to like women, LGBTQIA, who are using the software, their experience, what projects they actually work on, and to share it to us, like, how do you use this in your advocacies? How has this software been helping you in your projects? Would just be like opening up this, like a safe space for people in the QGIS group. So I think Tim and a lot of them have been really good at that, but we can also, like, as women and as coming from diverse backgrounds, I think it would be great for us to like just urging other people too. Like it shouldn't be on Tim and the core, people who have been working on this for a long time, but like for us who are using it and are active in our own communities, like just make sure that, hey, there's a community where we can join and we can speak up and share our stories. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up now.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Interesting. It's really interesting what you have to say. I'm Christine Patterson. I'm in
Hi,
Perth,
Christine.
Western Australia.
Hi.
Yeah, I never heard of the QGIS Open Day before the other day, and I started following QGIS on Twitter, and heard about it, and I'm just blown away. This session is here. I think it's great, and yeah, maybe. I'm not a programmer. I know what Arnalie is getting. I can barely make my computer say hello world, let alone. But I'm just constantly blown away by the upgrades and everything that happens. But as far as including women, I do think that holding more events like this would be great, and also using platforms. In fact, I have a little group on Facebook that I created back in 2013 or 2015, and with women from Asia Pacific, like Nepal, Cambodia, and all that, just to get up some news. And I've just posted the link for this. So getting word out there any way possible is one of the things. And I just think it's great. Yeah, really, really, really yelling and saying, hello, we're here, and sharing the news with everybody else you might know. And hopefully you might have a few people pop on from Australia or Nepal or somewhere like that. Hopefully, I don't know. So, but really just taking every avenue you can to get news out about things like this. And also, and I'm an older woman too. I mean, I finished my master's a couple of years ago. I'm 55. And also looking at different areas where I'm doing a small course with public health at the moment, and asking where we think how some of the areas can be developed, what sort of things can be done, getting people to think outside the box, whether it's male, female, whoever, is always a good idea. And saying, hey, look, what crazy ideas have you got there that our programmers or developers can then have a look at? So, yeah, sorry, I'll stop now.
Well, absolutely.
It's okay.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah.
Great. I wanted to say, I got into like organizing the open day just almost a year ago now. And I was yay, FOSS4G. I was doing some FOSS4G planning. And the what came out really interesting on the analytics of the YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, is 7% of our viewership are women, which I think I was quite surprised. And I think there is something to be said of ladies taking the initiative and doing it. You can't force people to arrive. But on the flip side of that, I think what's really important to get ladies and women and non-binary people and anybody to become more inclusive in QGIS is to do this. You don't have to be a programmer to come on the open day and give an amazing workshop on beautiful cartography. I mean, we all use QGIS and we're making maps, and you can come on and give a beautiful workflow for that, or how we use QGIS. I know Tim and our intern team, who are absolutely amazing, are currently working on some animations, making little data points or little feature points. And I hadn't even thought of maybe making an animated point for a breastfeeding station. And I was like, why didn't it come into my head? I'm a woman. So it's those sort of little things that need to start coming in from those ideas. So as a non-programmer, I think one of the amazing things to do is, put out there that, hey, I use this tool. I don't necessarily have to build this tool, but I can use this tool. I can go on QGIS and make an amazing style that I use on my maps all the time. Then use that style and contribute it to the style repository on QGIS. You don't have to code to contribute, which is awesome. That's one of the awesome things about QGIS. You can also, instead of building the plugin, there are lots of new plugins out there that are in like the alpha or beta phase that need testing. As a lady, go in and test that plugin. If they're missing, for example, a symbol for breastfeeding station, say, hey, we should probably put that in there. Half of the world will probably need this at some point. So I think people get afraid of code and afraid of coding and say, oh, well, this is this big program and I can't contribute because I don't have those skills. And I think, don't be scared of that. There's so many other ways to contribute to the QGIS project. So, sorry, my preach is over, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. So please, if you have anything cool, hit me up.
Yeah, I actually agree with Amy's point about coding is not the only way of contributing to the QGIS community. There's actually a lot of other ways of contributing by, let's say, here we're gathered today to discuss Women's Month or breaking the biased map. So this is also a way of contributing and, discussing with other people about QGIS or the campaign for break the biased map. And also, like OpenStreetMap, you can also contribute to documentation if you're not really familiar with the coding. So that's also one way of contributing, and also maybe help in organizing different community events related to QGIS. So that's also a part of contribution or contributing to QGIS. So I hope other women would also be will not be discouraged or to contribute, because despite not having the enough skills or knowledge on the different programming languages. So I hope a lot of women would join us. And actually I like the comment by Hannah earlier that reaching out to us is also a way of making the project more inclusive, because that's the very first step of being inclusive. So being able to reach out to the women mappers or women in general, so that it would become more inclusive and diverse. So thank you very much for that wonderful discussion. Now I think we're ready for our next presentation. Let's call on Miss Honey for her presentation about the Open Mapping Hub initiatives and how to tag women's spaces. So, Honey, over to you.
So hi everyone. Let me just share my screen. Are you all able to see the?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can someone please unmute?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for this session, we will be mapping in support of women on OpenStreetMap. So why do we need to make ourselves as women more visible on OSM? So unfortunately, OpenStreetMap participation from women is very low, but this is just an underlying factor of a bigger problem, which is that women are underrepresented, especially in the tech industry. So, as one of our friends from GeoChicas, Miriam Gonzalez, has said, they realized that there were only a few women on the OpenStreetMap chat. So, there's really a bias in the crowdsourced data that we're getting. So, this is the primary reason why they built this organization called GeoChicas. So, it's a group of women, feminists, and mappers linked to the OpenStreetMap project and to communities associated with the world of free software and open data. I believe you may have known them in previous seminars. So when women map, we identify features on the map that are often overlooked by men. So these features are usually hospitals, childcare services, toilets, social facilities, and shelters, women's health clinics, street lamps, etc. So these features are based on the women's needs and priorities, also interests, that can create significant change in how we shape, how we budget, and build local policies. So when women map, also the obvious product for that is that OSM will be able to host a more diverse and rich geospatial data. So it's also good to take note that women's priorities differ in different parts of the world. So some may prioritize food, garbage disposal or solid waste management, flooding and other hazards. Some may have problem in science and technology, and some may be in plane navigation. So in any of these parameters, women should take up their space or our own space. So how do we do that? We map features that women care about. So for today, I will be tackling OSM features that are for women, by women, and with women. So we have suggested features here with corresponding tags. So I will try to demonstrate a few after discussing some features. This is mainly based from the GeoLadies PH Mapathon. So note that if you want to tag a feature, you may list down first the features that you want to map, and then list down also the respective locations so that it will be much easier when you map it in OSM. So participants may also suggest on the end of the presentation, and we can also add those suggestions with our on our women friendly features or tags to map. All right, so as I've said, the GA Ladies PH advocates for community, diversity, collaborative participation, and affirmative spaces, especially for women and underrepresented communities. So as you can see here, my co-presenters, Ms. Feye and Arnalie, are one of the pioneer members of the GA Ladies. So let's start mapping. So um, the first feature is more on women empowerment. So these are organizations that are for women. It may be small and medium scale enterprises that empowers women or women owned, such as menstrual cup businesses. And it can also be NGOs, like for this example, it's UN Women. And the tags that are important here is office is equal to company if it's a private company, and office is equal to NGO if it is a non-government organization. And also if the whole building, if the NGO or company encompasses the whole building, you could also tag building is equal to commercial. So let's move on to the next sector. It's healthcare. So these are clinics for women and children and other healthcare facilities. So here, if we have like 1 to 10 staff only in a healthcare facility, we could use amenity is equal to doctors. If we have 10 or more staff, but not that many to be considered a hospital, we can use amenity is equal to clinic. And if we have like hospitals, then we could just use amenity is equal to hospital. So one important tag here is healthcare is equal to clinic, because if we have this specific tag, we could add it to specific speciality such as gynecology. We could also put fertility clinic, abortion. I know that this is a taboo topic, but some women might need to know where are the abortion clinics so that they could avail the services. So this should also be included in the discussion. So also for family planning, and also we have the healthcare is equal to midwife if that facility is run by midwives. All right, so we also have shelter and safety. So this includes police stations. So when we tag a police station, we will use amenity is equal to police on that point of interest. And it's good also to take note the opening hours or the operation hours of that specific police station. And also if there is an emergency phone there, you could also tag emergency is equal to phone. And another important tag, and I will also try to demonstrate it after this slide, is highway is equal to street underscore lamp. So we could provide this information where streets are safer, where streets are filled with lampposts, and I will move my sharing my screen. Wait. Okay, so can you see the OpenStreetMap website?
No, it's still your slide. Just make sure that you're sharing your whole
Oh,
screen and not just the window.
oh, okay, okay. I will try to reconnect again.
I wanted to ask
Entire
you, ladies, while
screen.
we're figuring that out, is this functionality sort of being built into OSM or is it already harnessed? Because I think one of the interesting things is, especially in South Africa, where crime is on our mind as ladies,
Yes.
in Pretoria near the university and in Stellenbosch near the university, there are actually safe paths that we call a green path that they're like
Mm-hmm.
security on and it's a safe place to walk. So would OSM be able to would we be able to put those onto an OSM map where we could say, okay, this is a safe path?
Actually, for this one, it's not really like considering as safe, but more of like since it's just implied, since there are street lamps, then it's much safer than those with highways that
Mm.
without the street lamps. So it's more on implied, but yeah, we could also try to map those things, and also suggest these features later on.
Mm, mm.
Okay, so for this one, as you can see, this is actually my area. This is the building where I live,
Sorry,
and
honey,
I
I
Um,
can't
know
see the
that
screen.
it's
you're not.
yeah,
Can't see
we're
it.
still seeing the slide.
Oh, okay.
Are you opening on a separate screen? Because then you can just make sure that it's on your main screen and not on your secondary screen.
Yeah, actually, it's open on a second screen, so
Mm,
maybe
mm.
that is why.
Toggle screen share.
Here, is
Right?
it? Can you see it now?
No.
No.
No. Okay. So yeah, sometimes technology is really
There's a,
work.
Yeah.
there's a thing called toggle screen share, but I don't know if that'll help.
Wait. Here? Can you see it now?
No, the thing with Jitsi is sometimes you have to restart it if you have to change.
Hello?
Honey, can you hear us? Honey? No, I think we lost her.
We lost her.
Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, honey, are you still here? Can you hear
Oh.
us? Oh, now we can see
Yeah,
your
yeah,
full
I can
screen.
hear you.
We can see your
Yes,
full screen
hello.
now. Yeah, can you hear us? Sorry.
Interesting here. If you can see in my picture, I've shared my other screen and I use the toggle screen share thing to do that. So, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I thought it was honey's. Okay, I think she restarted. No, no. Honey, are you still here?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear
Mhm.
you. We can.
Okay, so let me share my screen now. I hope it works. Here?
Ta-da!
Can you
Yeah,
see it now?
finally. Yes.
Okay. So it's a restart. So Hannah is right actually. So okay. So this is where I live, and I know that there is a lamppost here in this area. So what I can do is to click on point, and then just like what I have discussed earlier, it's a street lamp. So I can just search on the left side whatever feature that I would want it to be. So I know that there is a street lamp there, and I know if you know the type, it can be like electric or LED or whatever type of street lamp is there in your neighborhood. And also there is also a direction. Actually, this is cool. Also, if we have like CCTV cameras, this is very useful to put on the direction so we could know the area where that specific CCTV is can capture. So for that, I just know that there is a street lamp. I don't actually know what type it is. So that's it. That's actually it for the demo of the street lamp. So it's as easy as that. So the thing is, now I need to move to my PowerPoint. So let me stop sharing, and then let's try to share the PowerPoint.
There we go.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how we map street lamps in OSM. So aside from street lamps, this is also what Miss Arnalie discussed a while ago, the social facilities. So we have here in the Philippines the VAUSI desk. This is for it stands for Violence Against Women and Children desk. So what the tag that we use here is amenity is equal to social facility, and if it is a shelter, we could add social facility is equal to shelter. And if it's for women or children, you could use social facility for is equal to woman or child. So again, just emphasizing the discussion earlier that there should be consent in mapping these kinds of shelters so that we could prioritize who for who are we mapping for. Also, it's good to add offices of lawyers if we need assistance. So the tag for that is office is equal to lawyer. So we also have dormitories and hostels for girls. So the tag for that is building is equal to yes, and add tourism is equal to hostel. Or if that building is a dormitory, you could add building is equal to dormitory instead. All right, so let's move on to education and childcare. So women care about schools. Most of the time, we are the ones who like fetch our children. Also, we care about toilets with changing stations and also breastfeeding stations. So for here we have amenities. Here are the educational amenities that we can map. Amenity is equal to childcare or amenity is equal to kindergarten. We can also map amenity is equal to school for the school grounds. So take note, this is for the whole school ground. And then if you want to map specific buildings, we can use building is equal to school. And also, for this one, we can map toilets. So it is when we map toilets, we can also map changing tables. So we have amenity is equal to toilets, and we can add if there is a changing table there or none. And also, we could also add the amenity is equal to vending machines. So I believe most of I'm not sure with the other girls or ladies here, but here in the Philippines we always have like vending machines where we could buy napkins or we could buy feminine hygiene products. So it's also good to map these kinds of features in OSM. So this is what Ms. Arnalie talked about earlier. When we tag breastfeeding stations in an area, we can add baby underscore feeding is equal to yes. And if it is a designated room for breastfeeding, then we could add baby underscore feeding is equal to room. Okay, so why do we need to map these features? Because ultimately, women should take up space, and by doing this, we are bridging the gaps in a gender geography, and we are adding critical information that can only come from the perspective of a woman. So also I would like to add that one of the initiatives of the Open Mapping Hub Asia Pacific is for that cause. She leads and she inspires. So the goal is to support women interested in open mapping to grow as leaders within their communities. So that's all for me. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Honey, for that very detailed presentation about your initiatives and also really these initiatives. Now we move on to our conversations and questions and answer part. Any questions from the audience? Any pressing questions for our ladies for today or not yet? But if we don't have yet, let's see. I have some few questions for our speakers and also to our audience if you would like to answer. So first is how can we ensure that we're amplifying the voices and concerns of women, LGBTQI, and minorities in different mapping ecosystems. So feel free to unmute yourself and answer the question if you'd like. Or Arnalie, do you have an answer for this one? Arnalie, in case you're speaking, you're still muted. Or maybe, yeah, okay, you're back.
Yeah, sorry. I wasn't prepared. Just kidding. So, so yeah, I think that I like that question because I think like what Hannah mentioned earlier, reaching the first step, reaching out. I think maybe this not the second step, but also an equal step is to listen to women or to underrepresented groups. It's like being aware, not to take up or not to suck all the air out of the space. You need to give other air for other people. So yeah, I think one thing is to become an ally of women uh, in these spaces where biases are, very rampant. Even
Live streaming is on.
There we go. We're back.
right.
Yeah. Okay, Arnalie, you can you continue?
Yeah, I will continue. So I think aside from that, or in addition to that, personally, I think that yeah, we're lacking women in leadership positions. So yeah, I think for example, in OpenStreetMap, we have an OpenStreetMap foundation or board member. So yeah, there's not a lot of diversity in that board. I think even like in hot where I work, yeah, mostly not in terms of gender, but in terms of ethnicity or where people is coming from. So I think yeah, that's also one of the steps to make sure that women are that we're really amplifying women's voices and also being the voice when there's a woman in the leadership position, to take into account those realities, and of course, since it's a leadership position, also the decision making for that one. So any opinions or comments? Over to Faye.
Yeah, I think activities like this, being a part of the greater community, is one of the methods or things that we can amplify the voices and concerns of women. I mean, having an avenue to speak about our campaign, our advocacies, and plans for the communities is a great way to amplify the voices and concerns of different communities, marginalized and minorities in the different mapping ecosystem. So yeah, I think we can also have Honey, yeah, to answer that question as well. Honey, are you there? Yeah.
Actually, I would like to just raise an important thing. It's like mentorship. I think is one of the most important thing for women, especially I have here Miss Fayandal, so one of my mentors. So if I saw her work, I saw her contribution to OSM, and I became really inspired. So I think if we have like the chance to mentor girls and ladies around us, then it would be much more easier to build this community, build a stronger network of female leaders and mappers. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well, Honey, for that. You're making me blush. Yeah. Okay, so we have, I think, hand raise from Christine. Yeah, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Hi, how you going? Yeah, great question. Great things that Honey was saying about mentoring, um, and it's other women and everything, and having the opportunity. It's striking while the iron's hot is one of the things. Like being in a place. I did my Facebook group because I was working at a government department which had a land administration fellowship, and for that year it was all women from countries. And so I was sitting down talking to them, and they said because of they were from Nepal, Cambodia, and because of poor internet, there weren't any platforms. So I formed this Facebook group because they could all do it. So getting an idea and following it through as quick as possible is always good. Um, Encouraging to, even if they just put something out there on a group like mine, or something like this, encourage them and say, you know, hearing your voice is so important. It could be a 5-minute session or a 1-hour presentation. but what you have to say is important, and use every opportunity to strike while the iron's hot, and and encourage more writing. So yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Christine, for your thoughts. Amy, would you like to speak?
Alrighty. Yeah, so I just, I wanted to touch on what Honey said, and also seeing that, Richard and Marcathian and Tim, etc., are all in the room as well. And I sometimes feel like men and people from other diverse backgrounds who aren't in this sort of realm all the time, they are an ally to this conversation. And often I feel that they don't want to speak to this kind of conversation because they don't feel, I don't know, welcome. A lot of people are like, oh, champion women's rights, but the other half of the population is also an ally to that conversation. And I think one of the great ways that men who want to help out or are feminist or whatever is that mentorship role. There's so many times where I just send Tim a message and be like, I have no idea how to do this. Please help me. QGIS doesn't make sense. And he'll jump into conversation and help me out. It's that sharing of knowledge to people who want that knowledge. It doesn't necessarily have to be man, woman, non-binary, LGBTQ+. It's just being willing to step into that role and be able to help someone who does not know, or be able to, allow making space for these. That's what's so great about these things. And then my last comment was thinking back, and I'm sure Tim can probably help me on this, but there are quite a few other ways to contribute to QGIS. And one of the things is, especially for ladies, and generally ladies are viewed as the more artistic types. So, map making is artistic. We need really lovely color themes, and we need really lovely symbols for the maps. There's a shared SVG symbol repository for QGIS. And I really believe that perhaps for the shared resource, we should make a set of symbols that are female sort of centric. There's a symbol for specifically breastfeeding, or a symbol for a female clinic, or somewhere you can get feminine hygiene products, that those SVG symbols exist. It's set in QGIS. You don't have to make your own. You don't have to faff. You can just go find one immediately. It's there. So that is a way that someone can contribute. Even if they have no QGIS knowledge, they can go onto CorelDRAW or Inkscape and make a beautiful little SVG symbol and say, hey, I made this cool thing for your map. Can someone add it to the repository, etc. So there are lots of really cool things that, women can take the responsibility for their space and do it.
Thank you so much, Amy, for that wonderful thoughts and for sharing that. I think we also have a hand raised from Tim.
Hi. Yes, so just from my side, thank you for the great conversation, everybody. I mean, I think from men's perspective, we often a little bit scared to get into these conversations because we can get into trouble for saying the wrong thing, or have our biased opinions that we bring. So I think sometimes for us it's good to also step back and let the conversation flow without us trying to put our male stamp on things. And so it's really nice to just let you have your voice and to speak on things that concern you without us trying to mansplain how you should be thinking. But I do want to say that as a QGIS community, we the programming. There's this ongoing perception that if you want to contribute, you need to be a programmer, but really that's 1% of what happens in the project. And there are so many other places that we would love to have people contribute to, and especially women or people that are underrepresented put their mark on the project. I mean, they're kind of a lot of them are boring things, or can be perceived as boring unless that's your passion. But any there's the photography libraries and so on. But there's also documentation. Richard leads the documentation work in terms of like building the documentation, but there's also another there's a whole team of people like writing the documentation, and we would love to have your input and also make the documentation accessible to women. And there's the website, which is badly in need of overhaul. If you've got any design skills or ability to like make the website look like it's not a dude's project, that would be also great. And just basically where you think your stamp could be useful, we're open to having your inputs. It's really, we're just waiting for people to step up and get involved. And we want to just tell you that if you don't have to be shy or afraid that you're going to be squashed because you're a woman or because you're not like a developer or something. Like, if you want to get involved, just jump in and start, and we'll make the space for you to do that.
Right. Thank you so much, team, for that encouraging and very thoughtful words for us. We'll make sure that we have a representative from the women's community in the QGIS community as well. And maybe before we end the session for today, I just have one more question for everyone. So, what do you wish to see for us women this time next year? So we have wish list about what you'd like us to do, or go ahead, Amy.
I want ladies to come and give tutorials on QGIS Open Day on the awesome maps that they make. I want someone from the LGBTQ community to show how to make an amazing rainbow map on the Open Day, a lovely tutorial or something on how to do that. And I actually have a numerical goal that for this channel, we get hopefully from 7% to at least 25, maybe 50% female viewership. That would be awesome.
Right. Okay. We'll take note of that because we're also very active in social media, and we can help you campaign those the events that you have. Okay. So that is noted. Anything else from our viewers? I think Arnalie is throwing the same question from me. So I think I'd like to see more women leading the communities. I think at least for the Philippines, the ratio is quite interesting because it's already increasing. A lot of women is also being part of the community and a lot of leadership roles right now. So I hope by next year we have more women leading this kind of initiative. So I think we also have Tim. Do you have more requests from us?
Yeah, for me, I mean, lovely to have Amy leading the QGIS Open Days, and we've got Anita Graza, who's on the steering committee. I would love to see next year another woman taking a leadership role in QGIS somewhere, and there's plenty of space for that. So if you want to get involved, just reach out to myself or anybody in the project. We'll help you get going.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I also hope for that to happen so we can increase or balance the ratio between male and female in the community. So anything else from our audience? Do you have more to share?
I also think it's important on that to say that, a lot of open source communities, well, especially QGIS, it's based on sort of self-organization. So I think sometimes someone might expect, I don't know, an invite, for want of a better word, but it's not like that. If you want to get involved, jump in there. There's no, it's all about self-organization, getting involved, and that's how people like me and people like Anita and people women who are involved in the QGIS community, we're in this place because we wanted to be, and we got involved and we asked people things. Of course, Anita has such fantastic experience and she's just an absolute sensei in terms of QGIS. But it's one of those things where no one's going to hold your hand. You're going to have to jump in But on the flip side of that, you are welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amy, for that. We'll also take note of that. And last, I think Hannah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to second what Amy said. It's it's been for me, the experience has been you insert yourself in conversations, and what's really good with the QGIS community so far in my experience, like I don't want to speak for everyone, but like from my experience, QGIS communities have been amazing in terms of like opening spaces for like people like me who look like me, who has a background like me, and like people like Tim and a lot of them and the board have been allies. Like even the programmers have been really amazing and like encouraging you to take part in conversations, retweeting projects, including people. So I think it's more of like step up so that you can be heard, because it's a very noisy space out there too. So people don't usually know like who can we tap, who is willing to share their experiences. So like raise your hand, tell the people what you're working on. This community has been very open and has been very encouraging so far. And if you have a different experience, like let us know, because we can like talk to people and make the experience better for everyone. But if you need, or if you're not comfortable in like raising your opinions, like reach out to someone who you think can raise it for you while you build that confidence. So I feel like this is a community that is very valuable to me, just because of how I've grown as I've looked for like a space of where to belong. So yeah, so like I think next year, I think for each of us, let's just encourage people and women or LGBTQIA and people from Asia and different parts of the world to like please join us and speak up. And if you want to be a fly on the wall for now, you can. But once you're comfortable, like please share your stories, because this space will always be here for everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing that experiences. Christine, do you want to speak?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
I just think this is great, and I was just thinking from the point of view of someone like me, who I have been working with GIS programs and remote sensing since 1997, and I've always just been a worker bee thing. I haven't made great strides and all that, but I've got a lot of experience out there and everything, and it's just this has opened up my eyes to ways in which I can do a bit more to help others. And so thank you for putting this session on. And yeah, and I think that a lot of people who, like I said, I've never been in upper management or programming or anything, just a bit of a worker bee, and I love doing it. But I think people like me also have a lot to offer, and just from experience of using programs for a long time. So I'll definitely be hoping giving you some feedback soon on YouTube. I've just downloaded it again because I had an old program, so you'll be hearing from me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Christine. Anything else from our audience? Do you want to add more? Okay, so I think are pretty much done with our session for today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining us in our session about our campaign, Break the Bias Map, and also for hearing our experiences and knowledge on mapping and how we can contribute to this campaign further. So again, thank you so much, Amy and Tim and the QGIS community for having us today, and I hope we can see each other again for the next event. So thank you and have a lovely day. Amy, do you have something else? Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and all the folks that are in the room with us. That would be awesome. This has been a great session. I would like to encourage everyone who's on the QGIS Open Day journey with us to join in for our next session. It is QGIS, well, there's a little bit of between Tim and I as to when the actual date of QGIS's birthday is. But the next session is in celebration of that birthday. Tim and Gary are going to take us on a walk through time from when QGIS began to our bleeding edge brand new releases and the coolest and different functionality that's been included. So that's in about an hour and a half, so don't miss that.
And that's an open, we'll make an open room, so everyone welcome to jump in and tell us about your experiences over the 20 years of QGIS.
Absolutely. The Jitsi link is on the wiki. I will also be sharing it on the live chat of the video. So please do join us in an hour and a half for our next Open Day session. And that just leaves me to thank everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I have one last request. This is very Filipino, so I'd like to request everyone to open their camera so we can take a photo. So this is very Filipino. I apologize. But yeah, this is a very rare moment. So let's take this opportunity. Okay, wait. If you're only comfortable opening camera, please go ahead. Yeah, so I'll count 1, 2, 3. Wait. Sorry.
You should take another one because Markathian just arrived in his taxi ride too.
Hi,
Markathian.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm on my way to work on a minibus.
Okay. Okay, all set. 1, 2, 3. Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And have a lovely day, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.